This is not a story about madness or superstition.
There are moments in human history when cruelty does not arrive with chaos, but with order. When
In 17th century England, judgment was not delivered by rage. It was delivered by ink, seals, and
the city did not collapse into madness. Life continued, markets opened, bells rang, and
once written, the process no longer needed belief, only participation.
By 1645, London was more than a city. It was the engine of legitimacy. What London recorded, the rest of England accepted. Here, pamphlets transformed rumour into record. Once printed, suspicion no longer questioned itself. It declared certainty.
People gathered not to debate, but to learn the language of accusation.
Who read carefully.
Who looked away. Even attention became visible.
London did not need persuasion. It had been trained. Long before a name was spoken, the ending was already familiar. Into a system already prepared, one man stepped forward. Not appointed, not announced, but permitted through silence. His name was Matthew Hopkins. He carried no royal seal, yet no door closed when he arrived. Officials did not endorse him. They did not object. And in a system built on procedure, that silence was enough.
No law was changed, no emergency declared. The machine simply made room.
What moved outward from London were not accusations, but standards. Instructions on how to proceed.
Parish officers learned which questions were acceptable, which delays were no longer allowed.
From this moment forward, cases no longer waited for doubt to resolve. The method had already decided. The hunt did not travel as panic. It moved as routine, already approved before it arrived.
Before courts and prisons, the hunt began here, inside parishes crowded by poverty, illness, and constant pressure. When illness came without reason, memory supplied one. The mind searched backward for blame.
Nothing was written yet. But once suspicion was shared, it began searching for the page that would hold it.
When suspicion reached a parish officer, it crossed a line. What had been spoken became reportable.
Once written, neutrality vanished. The page did not record doubt, only names. From that moment on, silence became strategy. To speak was to be seen.
Once entered into record, the case no longer belonged to those who began it. The system knew how to continue.
Removal followed quickly. A parish officer arrived. A name was read. No explanation was offered.
The street did not resist. Everyone understood the cost of attention.
Once removed, the door rarely opened again in the same way.
From this point forward, accusation was no longer reversible. It had become enforcement.
Without sound or light to mark hours, time unraveled. Waiting replaced certainty.
Inside confinement, control was immediate. The space was small, cold, and already shaped by others who had passed through.
Eyes remained on the body at all times. Stillness was noted. Movement questioned.
By the time questioning began, the body was already failing. The mind was already searching for relief.
Marks were searched for. Ordinary features were pressed, measured, and listed without explanation.
At this stage, events no longer mattered. What remained was the body, and how it could be interpreted.
Once written, observation became fact. No alternative explanation was invited.
The questioning did not ask what happened. It asked whether cooperation would be offered.
The same questions returned again and again, not to clarify, but to erode.
The questioning did not ask what happened.
It asked whether cooperation would be offered.
Under exhaustion, the mind no longer searched for truth. It searched for rest.
An admission was never enough. The system required a story that could be written down.
When memory failed, details were offered. When answers drifted, they were corrected.
Then came the names. Neighbors, relatives, familiar faces recalled under pressure.
Each confession created another beginning elsewhere. The process no longer needed accusers from the street.
Confession was no longer a moment. It became labor, performed sentence by sentence.
Silence was treated as resistance. Speaking felt safer than stopping.
Once written, words no longer belonged to the speaker. They belonged to the record.
From this point forward, belief no longer mattered. The system had momentum.
Once confession was entered, judgment followed without discussion. A date was fixed, a signature applied. Nothing remained to weigh.
No new hearing was called. The law had already completed its work on paper.
Transport began early. Bodies moved slowly, not from resistance, but from exhaustion already taken.
Transport began early. Bodies moved slowly, not from resistance, but from exhaustion already taken.
The route was known. Everyone involved understood where to stand long before anyone arrived.
The crowd gathered not in anger, but in expectation. The event fit cleanly into the day.
No explanation was offered. None was required. The record had already spoken.
Files were sealed. Pages were filed. No language suggested uncertainty.
Files were sealed. Pages were filed. No language suggested uncertainty.
A house remained closed longer than expected. No record explained why.
Families received no restoration. No reconsideration followed. The system did not look back.
In the days that followed, London resumed its routines. Markets opened. Bells rang again.
Names appeared in print, then disappeared. Memory adjusted for survival. Nothing visible had changed. And yet the air felt heavier. The structure remained standing. Nothing had been dismantled.
Everyone knew where it stood. That knowledge pressed quietly on the city.
No declaration marked safety restored. The system simply waited. The language remained intact. The procedures still fit. The terror no longer required spectacle. It survived through familiarity.
Everyone understood that nothing prevented it from happening again.
What unfolded was not chaos. It was not madness. It was structure.
It justified itself not through belief, but through procedure.
The law did not examine outcomes. It only verified that steps had been followed.
London did not lose control. It followed procedure. And that is what made it lethal.
When the noise fades, what remains is not peace, but waiting.
No announcement declared safety restored. No closure was offered.
What endured was readiness, the understanding that the system still knew how to move.
The terror did not live in superstition. It lived in systems that learned how to justify themselves and how to finish what they began.